I woke up that morning with the soft morning light gently filtering through the thin curtains of my small apartment room, and everything felt quiet and still around me as I lay there for a moment, just taking in the peace before the day really started. The bed was still warm from the night before, and I stretched my arms slowly while my mind began to wake up little by little. I reached over to the side table and picked up my phone without thinking much about it at first, but as soon as I opened the screen and started scrolling through my social media feed, the first thing that caught my eye was a bright photo from one of my old school friends. He was smiling so wide next to his brand new red car, and the caption said he had finally achieved something he had been dreaming about for years after landing a great job that paid well and gave him so much freedom. Everyone was liking the post and leaving comments about how proud they were of him, and suddenly that simple morning moment started to feel a little heavy inside my chest because it made me stop and think about where I was in my own life right then. I kept scrolling because I could not help myself, and the next post was from another friend who had just announced her big promotion at work. She looked so happy and confident standing in her office with a cake and flowers on the table, and she wrote about how all the late nights and hard work had finally paid off, and now she had a better title, more responsibility, and a brighter future ahead. The comments were full of congratulations and excitement, and I felt a small knot forming in my stomach as I compared that success to my own daily routine that never seemed to change much. Then came another post from someone I knew from college, showing off a sparkling engagement ring on her finger with her partner by her side, and they were already planning a big wedding with family and friends, talking about how their life together was just beginning in the most perfect way. It all looked so complete and joyful, and I could not stop myself from feeling like everyone around me was moving forward so quickly while I was still standing in the same place I had been for so long. The scrolling continued, and soon I saw a travel photo from a buddy who had started his own small business and was now living what looked like an amazing adventure on a sunny beach in another country. He posted about how he had taken the risk, quit his old job, and never looked back because life was meant to be lived fully, and his followers were cheering him on with hearts and fire emojis everywhere. I put the phone down for a second to make some tea in my tiny kitchen, but even as I waited for the water to boil, my mind kept going back to all those images and stories, and I started wondering why it felt like everyone else was so far ahead in life while I was still trying to figure out the basics. The morning went on like that, with the weight of comparison growing heavier as I got ready for my regular day at a job that paid the bills but never really excited me or made me feel like I was building anything meaningful. As the days turned into weeks, this became a quiet pattern for me every single morning when I opened my phone and saw more friends buying new homes, starting families, or announcing big career moves that made their lives look so settled and successful. One cousin posted about the modern kitchen in his new house where the whole family gathered for dinners every weekend, and another shared the sweetest pictures of their newborn baby, talking about how they were now building a future that felt stable and full of love. I would sit there in my room after work, comparing everything to my own situation where I was still living in the same small apartment, doing the same tasks at my job, and feeling like my dreams were stuck somewhere far away that I could not quite reach yet. It started to make me question my own progress in a deep way, and I would lie awake at night thinking about how we had all started from the same place back in school and college, laughing and planning our futures together, but now it seemed like some of them had raced ahead while I was left standing still, watching from the sidelines. The feeling of being behind in life grew stronger with every passing month, and it began to affect how I saw myself and the world around me. I would look at my reflection in the mirror and wonder if there was something wrong with the pace I was moving at, because career confusion was always there in the back of my mind, making me doubt whether I had chosen the right path or if I needed to completely change directions to catch up. Social media made it even worse because it was constantly showing me only the best parts of everyone else's journey, the highlights and the wins, without any of the struggles or quiet failures that happen behind the scenes. I started to feel this pressure building up inside me like a heavy cloud that would not go away. And even simple things like going to work or meeting friends became harder because the thoughts kept whispering that I was not doing enough or moving fast enough compared to them. Then the family pressure started to add another layer to everything, and it came during those quiet dinner conversations at home where my parents would sit across from me and ask gently about my plans for the future. They would mention how my cousin had already become a manager at his company and bought a car last month, and they wondered out loud when I might find something better or more stable that could bring me the kind of peace they wanted for me. Their words came from a place of love and care, but they still landed heavily on my heart because I knew they were comparing me to others too, just like I was doing with myself every day. Relatives would call on the weekends and share stories about how my friend from school got married early and looked so settled now, or how someone else had traveled the world and started a successful business, and they would ask me kindly why I had not reached those milestones yet. I would smile and nod during those talks, trying to hide how much the expectations were weighing on me, but later when I was alone in my room, the pressure would return and make me feel like I was somehow disappointing the people who cared about me the most, even though I was working hard every single day in my own quiet way. This mix of family words and social media posts led me into a long period of self-doubt and overthinking that lasted for many months, and I would find myself lying awake at night with my mind racing through the same questions over and over again. What if I never caught up to where everyone else seemed to be? What if my path was simply the wrong one and I had missed all the opportunities that others grabbed so easily? I would replay small mistakes from years ago in my head, turning them into bigger failures that felt impossible to move past, and the overthinking made everything feel darker and more confusing than it really was. My job started to suffer a little because I lost focus during the day, distracted by these looping thoughts about career confusion and the fear that I was falling further behind with every passing week. There were moments when I would sit alone on the couch after work and cry quietly to myself, hiding the tears because I did not want anyone to see how much this was affecting me inside, but the emotions were real and raw, and they made me feel weak and tired in a way I had never experienced before. One quiet afternoon when I was sitting by myself with a cup of tea and staring out the window, something inside me began to shift slowly as I took a deep breath and started to look at everything differently. I realized that social media only showed the highlights of people's lives, the shiny moments of success and happiness that they chose to share with the world, while hiding all the struggles, the late nights of worry, the failures they never posted about, and the tears they cried behind closed doors when no one was watching. My friend with the new car probably had loans to pay off and stress about making monthly payments that he never mentioned in his posts. The one who got the promotion likely worked extra hours and felt overwhelmed in secret, even if the cake and flowers looked perfect in the picture. The engaged couple probably had arguments and doubts just like any normal relationship, and the traveler on the beach faced lonely days far from home that made the adventure feel less glamorous than it appeared. This simple truth started to feel freeing because it showed me that the comparison I had been making was unfair from the very beginning, since I was only seeing the best parts of their stories and comparing them to the full reality of my own life, which included its own quiet wins and small daily efforts that mattered just as much. The realization helped lift some of the heavy feeling that had been sitting on my chest for so long, and I began to breathe a little easier as I understood that everyone had hard moments too, even if they did not share them for the world to see. My own life had its own gentle progress that I had been overlooking, the small steps I took every day that were building something real even if they did not make for flashy photos or viral posts. This new way of thinking changed how I approached my phone in the mornings, and instead of scrolling with jealousy, I started to scroll with kinder eyes that reminded me social media was just a highlight reel and not the complete movie of anyone's journey. The pressure from family conversations started to ease a bit as well because I knew deep down that my truth was different and valid in its own way, and the self-doubt that had been so loud before became quieter as the weeks went on. It was around this time that I decided to go for a walk in the park one sunny afternoon, and I sat down on an old wooden bench under some tall green trees where the air felt calm and peaceful. An older man was sitting nearby on the same bench, and he looked wise and relaxed with a gentle smile on his face as he watched the birds flying around. We started talking slowly after a few minutes, and he shared stories from his own younger days when he had felt exactly the same way I was feeling right now, watching friends buy homes early and move ahead while he was still saving money and figuring things out step by step. He told me about how he learned one of the most important lessons of his life during that time, which was that everyone moves at completely different speeds in this world, and your own timeline is yours alone and not something to measure against anyone else's journey. Some people run fast from the beginning while others walk carefully and enjoy the views along the way, but both of them can reach the same beautiful mountains eventually, just at different moments that are right for them. His words touched me deeply as we sat there sharing a cup of tea from his small flask, and he became like a quiet mentor in that short conversation, guiding me with calm wisdom that I had needed for so long. He said to always be kind to myself because real growth often happens in silence and patience, and the small steps I was taking every day would lead to big changes if I trusted the process without rushing or comparing. I thank him before I left the park that day, and his lessons stayed with me like a warm light in my heart as I walk home with lighter steps than I had felt in months. The world around me started to look a little different after that, and I began to understand that my speed was okay exactly as it was, with no need to rush or feel ashamed anymore because my path was unique and perfect in its own timing. From that point forward, I started focusing on small improvements in my daily life, taking one gentle habit at a time so that I would not overwhelm myself but still feel like I was moving forward in a meaningful way. Every evening I would read 10 pages from a book before going to sleep, and those quiet moments made me feel a little smarter and more peaceful inside as the weeks passed. I began waking up earlier to take long walks in the fresh morning air, breathing deeply and letting my mind think clearly about the things that truly mattered to me instead of the noise from outside. I learned a new simple skill each week, like cooking healthier meals at home or practicing a few new English words and phrases that helped me feel more confident when I spoke with others. Each day, I would write a short, honest note in my little journal about what I had done. Things like, today I finished a task at work with more focus than before, or tomorrow I will try again with even more patience. And these small entries added up over time to show me real progress that no one else could see, but that felt important to me. The confidence started to build slowly and quietly inside me as the months went by, and I noticed that the old self-doubt visited less and less often, replaced by a gentle strength that came from knowing I was exactly where I needed to be on my own timeline. I smiled more when I looked at myself in the mirror, and my family began to notice the positive shift in my mood and energy, asking me softly what had changed because I seemed calmer and more at peace than before. I shared a little about the older man's words from the park and how they had helped me understand patience and personal growth in a new way, and they listened with understanding and even started to support me more openly without the heavy comparisons that used to come up so often. The phone scrolling became more balanced too, and instead of feeling bad about other people's wins, I began to celebrate my own small daily victories, whether it was completing a project early at work or simply helping a friend who needed someone to talk to. Looking back at those early mornings, when it felt like everyone was so far ahead in life, I can now see clearly that the feeling was real, but it was not the full truth of the situation. We all walk completely unique paths in this world, and there is no single race or finish line that we all have to cross at the same time. Some journeys look faster from the outside, but every single one has its own challenges, its own quiet moments of doubt, and its own beautiful timing that makes it special. Patience became my closest friend during this time, teaching me that personal growth is not always loud or quick but often happens in the soft, steady steps we take when no one is watching. My mental strength grew stronger through all the reflections and the small changes I made, and I learned to trust my own timeline fully because it was mine to shape gently and kindly without pressure from anyone else. So if you are listening to this story right now and you have ever felt like everyone around you is moving ahead while you are still trying to find your way, I want you to remember these simple but powerful truths that took me so long to learn. Social media will always show only the highlights, but your real journey is full and beautiful in its own way, with ups and downs that make you who you are becoming. Take those small steps every single day, no matter how tiny they seem, because they are the ones that build the foundation for everything that comes later. Listen to the wise voices around you, the ones that remind you to be patient with your heart and to trust the process even when it feels slow. You are exactly where you need to be in this moment to grow into the person you are meant to become, and there is no rush or competition that can take that away from you. Keep going with calm faith in yourself, and watch how the light begins to shine brighter on your own unique story as the days turn into months and years. Everyone moves at their own perfect pace in life, and yours is just right for you, so trust it fully. And let yourself bloom slowly and beautifully in the way that only you can. Thank you for staying with me through this long storytelling session. I hope these words have helped you feel a little lighter and more hopeful about your own path, because the truth is that we are all in this together, learning patience and strength one quiet day at a time. Your timeline belongs only to you, and with gentle steps and a trusting heart, you will find your way forward stronger, wiser, and more at peace than you ever thought possible.